Zoran Mamdani tweets out, I am devastated by the killing of 16-year-old Marquise Byfield, a student whose future was taken in an instant. And I'm sitting here trying to find information on the presidential assassination attempt. Like, who the fuck is Marquise Byfield? What the fuck are you talking about? And just to prove a point, I took a screenshot once again with Medicare's stream down here showing the fucking attempted assassin on the ground. It's like 47 minutes ago while we're looking at them having captured the attempted shooter. Zoran Mamdani, what the fuck are you talking about? What the actual fuck? And so now in my more lucid non-high state, I looked up who the fuck Marquise Byfield is. I guess I'll read the rest of this commie's fucking tweet. Mamdani said, this evening I spoke with Marquise's mother and expressed my deepest condolences and my heartbreak for their entire family. She shared that Marquise was just weeks away from starting his first summer job, something he was excited and hopeful about. No teenager in New York City should ever fall victim to gun violence, and no family should ever have to endure this kind of pain. Every shooting death is a tragedy, and it is especially heartbreaking when a young life is taken far too soon. This horrific act is a painful reminder of all that we still have to do in tackling the scourge of gun violence across our city. My administration is committed to doing everything in our power to prevent tragedies like this and to build a safer city for all New Yorkers. Now, I went to Google and I just copy-pasted Marquise Byfield because I was like, surely if I just type in this one name, I will get articles pertaining to what happened to little old Marquise Byfield. Well, the first article that came up, I started reading it and was confused. So, apparently this happened yesterday. A man was arrested on Friday night and charged with the murder of a 15-year-old boy who was shot in broad daylight in a Queens Park earlier this month. The man, Zahir Davis, 18, was taken into custody just before 9:30 p.m. on Friday and charged with killing Jaden Pierre, a teenager who was beaten and shot during a fight in Roy Wilkins Park in South Jamaica on April 16th. Mr. Davis was arraigned on Saturday morning in Queens Criminal Court on charges of second-degree murder, gang assault, and criminal possession of a weapon. If convicted, he faces up to 25 years to life in prison. Well, I'm going to go ahead and assume, as he is in the New York district and his name is Zahir Davis, he's absolutely not going to be facing 25 years to life. He's going to probably get out in 10, maybe less. The police had been seeking Mr. Davis since last week, but he had fled New York City for the island nation of Jamaica just after the shooting, evading arrest, Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch said in a statement on Saturday. You're telling me that he shot and killed someone in South Jamaica, New York? And then he left New York for the island nation of Jamaica? Like, what? This is kind of goofy. Mr. Davis returned to New York City on Friday because he apparently has room temp IQ. Why the fuck would you do that? And was apprehended by the police department detectives on U.S. Marshals Local Fugitive Task Force shortly after landing at the airport. His arrest was a new break in a case that had haunted South Jamaica and the city for nearly a week. A week? The simulation is breaking down, Pat. This is upsetting. This is upsetting that they're like, oh, it was haunting for nearly a week. How long did it take to catch the fucking, Idaho quad murderer guy? This murder has shocked and outraged our city, Melinda Katz, the Queens District Attorney, said in a statement after the arraignment. Jaden's death has been a tension point in the city since the videos of his killing and the fight that preceded it surfaced online. Video of the encounter, which was captured by at least 2 bystanders, showed several young people repeatedly punching Jaden near the park's basketball courts as a large group of teenagers shouts with excitement. In one video, a young man pulls out what looks to be a gun and points it at Jaden before a single pop rings out, and Jaden crumples to the ground. It remained unclear on Saturday what precisely had sparked the fight, but detectives on Tuesday had said that the episode began when more than 100 teenagers gathered in the park for a water gun fight. Brother brought a real gun to a water gun fight. Joseph Kenny, the department's chief of detectives, said that the event had been publicized on social media and that detectives believe that Jaden co-hosted it. While its intent appeared to be harmless, he said, the event had drawn members of at least 6 different gangs. I kinda want a new rendition of Girls Just Wanna Have Fun, but instead it's Crips Just Wanna Have Fun. You know, like, what the fuck? What the fuck? I wonder if the defense attorney is going to mount that, right? Like, Your Honor, My defendant is actually so functionally retarded, he did not know the difference between a water gun and a real firearm, thus proving insanity. Thus, my client should be free. And the judge will probably, as a New York judge, be like, you know what? Checks out to me. He's home free. Good luck. Get out. Jaden, who was unarmed, had been feuding since January with one of the teenagers who beat him, detectives said. It appeared that Mr. Davis, who was part of the fighting, had been trying to pistol whip Jaden, Chief Kenny said, but the gun discharged as he hit him, striking Jaden in the chest. Miss Katz called the shooting unprovoked. Based on internal intelligence, the police believe Mr. Davis is a member of the BG4 gang, an emerging group that has been operating for at least a year in the Southeast Queens. On Saturday, Mr. Davis was also arraigned on harassment charges stemming from a separate episode just days before the fight, in which he is accused of threatening to shoot his ex-girlfriend, with whom he shares a child. The videos of the attack on Jaden and their swift dissemination online have prompted concern from many lawmakers who have not only condemned the violence, but also questioned the callousness of those who filmed the interaction. Why was his life not worth putting the phone down? Jumane Williams, the city's public advocate, asked at a vigil for Jaden on Monday evening, which drew hundreds of mourners and an array of elected officials. Because at least now there's video of what happened. If people actually record what happened, it can't be twisted or lied about. It's important to have that. And also, if you don't have a gun and you're watching someone pull out a gun and point it at someone, very few people are going to attempt to go into that altercation unarmed, right? Like, that's not normal. That's not a normal thing to happen. I think more people are willing to stop someone who, I'm gonna heavy quotes, only has a knife, because obviously a knife can do a lot of damage, much rather than somebody who has a gun that can stop you from running at them from a distance. Like, sure, the guy with the knife could always throw his knife at you, but then that leaves him unarmed, so that's probably unlikely to happen. Mayor Zoran Mamdani, who did not attend the vigil, said on Monday during a discussion hosted by WNYC that Jaden's youth had added to the tragedy of the killing. We extend not only our condolences to the family, but frankly, a necessity of recommitting ourselves to ending the scourge of gun violence in this city, Mr. Mamdani said. The killing comes as the police department has struggled to address a recent rise in shootings involving teenagers, even as gun violence and other major crimes in the city have declined. Declined because they're not being reported anymore? In 2025, 14% of all shooting victims in New York City and 18% of perpetrators were under the age of 18. Both statistics represent the highest share of youth shootings since the police department began tracking such data in 2018. Why were they only tracking the data since 2018? That seems like it's incredibly skewed if it's only been tracked since that long ago. The department has rolled out a series of initiatives to address the rise, including deploying more school safety agents in and around schools and policing areas where teenagers are most at risk, like bus stops and commuter corridors. Since making the changes last September, the police department said that shootings involving young people have declined in those zones while officers have been deployed. Still, a spate of recent killings involving teenagers this year has rattled the city. On Friday, hours before Mr. Davis was arrested, a 16-year-old boy, Marquise Byfield, there it is. I was wondering when we were going to see Marquise's name fit into this. On Friday, hours before Mr. Davis was arrested, a 16-year-old boy, Marquise Byfield, was fatally shot around 4 p.m. in East New York, Brooklyn, the police said. And I did find an article about Marquise, so it said 16-year-old killed inside NYC bodega during clash with another teen. 16-year-old boy was shot and killed at a Brooklyn bodega Friday afternoon during a deadly clash with another teenager, according to police and the store's manager. Marquise Byfield was shot at least twice inside Livonia Deli and Grocery at 909 Livonia Ave in New Lots around 4:15 p.m. Authorities rushed to the scene to find Byfield with critical gunshot wounds in his torso and groin area. He was later pronounced dead at Brookdale University Hospital and Medical Center. Man, just look at the way that this shop front is decorated. Byfield of Brownsville was allegedly fighting with another teen before he was killed, the store's manager, Karar Obaid, said. The first one came in and the second one came in behind him and they started fighting, Obaid said. I was behind the counter. When we heard shots, we lay down on the floor. On the floor is added in after, so this guy's got an accent. There was blood everywhere. They've been 15 shootings within the 75th precinct where Byfield was killed from the start of the year through April 19th. Shootings are up 36% year to date, police data show. During the same period last year, there were 11 shooting incidents. The suspect, who is believed to be a 15 or 16-year-old, is still on the loose as of Saturday morning, according to police. No suspects have been publicly identified, and the investigation is ongoing. Well, thanks. Thanks, Mamdani. This was a very important thing to tweet during the presidential assassination attempt. Zoran Mamdani won't do anything about gun violence because he would have to get rid of every woke DA and replace them with a real DA. He can do something, and that is institute a "we're gonna take all your guns, New Yorkers." And, you know, as a communist, I would not be surprised if he eventually tries saying something in that manner. And, we had...
Yeah. Just wanna have fun.
Fuck off! They want my info so bad!
Home in the morning light. My OG says, when you gonna live your life right? Oh, homie dear, we ain't the fortunate ones. But Crips just wanna have fun. The phone rings in the middle.
Can you imagine if I was able to convince a dev to use this temporarily for a fucking heist stage, dude?
But Crips just wanna have fun. Crips, they just wanna have fun. Crips just wanna have fun. Crips, they just wanna have fun. Crips just wanna have fun. I met my boy down on the block last night. Blue flags waving, feeling alright. The rivals talk tough, but we laugh and run. Cause Crips just wanna have fun.
Good fucking lord.
Say we're trouble, some say we're cool, but when the music hits, we break all the rules. Mama don't like it when we out after one.
That's true. Even gangsters have to come home to mama. They got a curfew, man.
They just wanna have fun.
Crips just wanna walk fun.
They just wanna have fun.
This stream is a fever dream. Welcome to Korsha.com.
They just wanna, they just wanna, they just wanna, they just wanna. Crips just
Man, Ghost of Aces, thank you. You invented the riderless lawnmower. It went out of control and took out a family of 6, but still it was revolutionary for 45 seconds. Where can you find this? I'll link it. It's made by Revenant. He's in the chat. He's in the chat. Why? Why was that so fun? What the fuck? It's got a nice little fucking AI cover card too. Damn.
No, madam.
You can't poop on the beach.
Everywhere is for my pooping. It is for me to poop on. No, madam.
What is it? Why does that sound like a fucking cartoon? Why does it sound like a cartoon? Everywhere is for my pooping. He's like a cat. He's like a cat who finds a giant sandbox. Oh my god. The world is my little boxer. Soundboard. Yeah, that's a new fucking soundbite. Holy shit. Holy fuck. Okay, alright. Plane crash near Crystal Airport in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota kills 2, including North Dakota State Rep Liz Conny. What the frick? Yeah, that's kind of insane. Good fucking god, dude. That is actually horrifying to see. Fargo lawmaker Liz Conny dies in Minnesota plane crash, which, rip lady, holy shit. That is a horrendous way to have to die. State Rep Liz Conny, a Democrat from Fargo, died Saturday after a plane crash. North Dakota's Democratic NPL party said Saturday evening. The crash involving a small plane occurred shortly before noon Saturday in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, a suburb of the Twin Cities. The Brooklyn Park Police Department reported. The National Transportation Safety Board said a Beech F-33A airplane crashed in a residential area shortly after taking off from the Crystal Airport in Minnesota. The Federal Aviation Administration said 2 people were on board. Now, I remember a couple of other small plane crashes last year, one of them being a medical flight in, I think, Pennsylvania. It either started in New York or started in Pennsylvania, I can't remember, but they also crashed shortly after taking off. After takeoff, no flaps, no loose ends. I don't know, man, that's weird. Brooklyn Park Police said both occupants died. Police did not identify the victims as of Sunday. No one on the ground was hurt. KFGO reported the pilot who died was a friend of Conmy's. The National Transportation Safety Board is leading the investigation, and an investigator was expected to arrive on the scene Sunday to document the site and examine the airplane, said NTSB spokesperson Keith Holloway. North Dakota Governor Kelly Armstrong offered condolences Saturday to Conmy's family, friends, and fellow legislators. Liz served her state and community with care and compassion, from her service in the legislature and on the state's Human Trafficking Commission to her work on education, habitat, and immigration. State Senator Tim Marthern has represented District 11 in Fargo alongside Conmy. I really see Liz as having a zest for life, Marthern said Sunday. Marthern said many people did not realize that Conmy was still actively engaged in agriculture, running the farm near Langdon that she took over from her parents. She had 1 foot out there in rural North Dakota and 1 foot in Fargo, Marthern said. That sort of broad perspective was unique among legislators. House Minority Leader Zach Ista, Democrat, Grand Forks, said he's completely devastated by the loss. She lived life to its fullest, never shying away from adventure or speaking her mind, often in refreshingly direct terms, Ista said in a statement. As a lawmaker, she championed public education, the environment, and transparency. Representative Liz Conmy from the left, candidate Anastasia Andrianova, and Senator Tim Mathern. Conmy was elected to the House in 2022 and was running for re-election. In a campaign announcement in January, Conmy said she wanted to continue representing South Fargo's diverse community by focusing on education, housing, childcare, and healthcare. She has 4 children. Her professional career included work in journalism, corporate communications, and as a faculty member at Minnesota State University in Moorhead. According to her campaign announcement, she was active on boards of Audubon Great Plains and Catch ND, which promotes legal immigration in rural communities. That's a weird thing. I think her death is a reminder that we all ought to engage in life, Mathern said. The best way we can honor Liz Conmy is to be engaged in positive things. Armstrong directed all U.S. and North Dakota flags to be flown at half-staff on the day of Conmy's internment. Preliminary report from NTSB is expected within 30 days, with a final report detailing the probable cause of the crash expected in 1 to 2 years, Holloway said. Witnesses or anyone with surveillance video or other information are asked to contact the NTSB. Excuse me, why would it take 1 to 2 years to get the black box and then distribute the information inside of it? Why would that take 1 to 2 years? That's kind of crazy. Final report is like verdict of a court case. You'll get a lot of info before that. Okay, well, I hope so. I hope so. It looks like if I'm going to continuously get censored for reporting the news, instead of doing the news, I should just become a fetish streamer. Because promoting fetishes is better than informing people about what's going on.
Place.
Oh, she even did the place joke. Holy shit. I was like, clearly I need to buy a slave and a shock collar.
Good. Good. Okay, where were we? Hi, Sky! Oh,
and I don't, maybe it's because I'm like a normal woman, but when I see men being like submissive and subservient in that manner, I just think, if I lived in Rome instead of America, that man would get ass raped and then murdered because he is useless to society. He's not worth the air that he breathes. There's just like a visceral reaction to like submissive men that disgusts me. It's like you are the soft men who have brought us the hard times. You are not the men who build society. You hate this even if this is supposed to be a joke. Mr. Tony Ortiz made an article saying Groyper accused of admitting to having sex with his dog. In newly filed court documents, a Nick Fuentes fan / Groyper is alleged to not only have committed violent sexual acts, but also to have had sex with his own dog. The state of Texas has filed charges against Connor Ernest in Montgomery County, alleging sexual assault against 2 different women. In a pretrial discovery filing signed by Assistant District Attorney Mary Garcia, many violent sexual acts are alleged by ex-girlfriends of Ernest. One ex-girlfriend also alleges that Ernest admitted to having sex with his dog. And this is, I guess, part of the court record. On or about April 2024, defendant and Redacted got into an argument on the driveway of defendant's house. Defendant shoved her to the ground, causing Redacted to have scraped knees and feel pain. On or about May 4th, 2024, defendant forced himself onto Redacted and had non-consensual sex. On or about May 8th, 2024, defendant punched Redacted in the face in the car after an argument causing a black eye. On or about May 21st, 2024, defendant was cooking and took contents of that meal and poured the hot food and grease on her back, causing visible injuries, burns, and pain. What a fucking psychopath. On or about May 26th, 2024, defendant punched Redacted 8 to 9 times in the face and different areas of her body and giving her a black eye and heavy bruising. On or about June 6th, 2024, defendant punched Redacted in the face, causing pain. On or about June 26, 2024, defendant punched Redacted in the face 10 to 12 times and bit Redacted on the arm. And then forced himself onto her and had non-consensual sex with Redacted. This guy is fucking insane! Please get rid of him! On or about July 19th, 2024, while the defendant was driving, defendant punched Redacted in the face and then punched her again after Redacted was crying. Redacted stated that defendant has on at least 3 separate occasions used his fingers to penetrate her vagina without consent. Redacted would attempt to pull defendant's hands away, but defendant would use his fingers to penetrate Redacted's anus. What the fuck? This, like, disgusting rapist crazy man. You'd say firing squad, but the bullets are worth more than he is. Fucking true and real. Jesus Christ. On or about January 15th, 2021, Redacted and defendant were in bed when defendant pulled Redacted's pants down and began penetrating her vagina with his fingers. On or about April 2021, defendant admitted to Redacted that he had sex with his dog. Defendant also admitted to Redacted that his previous girlfriend, also Redacted, would tell him to stop having sexual intercourse with her, but he did not stop. I feel like everything leading up to sex with the dog was already enough to be like, yeah, this man should be taken out by firing squad after he gets convicted. But like, why? What the fuck? The case, first published by Mark McCaig of the Texas Voice, began with a 2025 arrest of Ernest, where he was later released on a $20,000 bond. Hot take, with everything he did, I don't think he should have been allowed on bond, man. Connor Ernest, a recipient of the Texas Scorecard Conservative Leader Award, who once created content for Texans for Strong Borders, was arrested in Montgomery County today on felony charges of sexual assault and continuous violence against the family. He's out on a $20K bond. He shouldn't be. He shouldn't be. And damn, Groypers fucking suck. He's got the same fucking crazy eyes! Hold the phone! He's got the same fucking crazy eyes as that Anastasia person! I don't like that. It's the dog! Is that the dog? Is that why the dog's face is redacted? Because that's the dog that he raped? Had to protect the identity of the dog. In 2021, Ernest received a Conservative Leader Award by Empower Texans, now Texas Scorecard, for his work and activism at his school. Very odd. In a 2022 interview with Current Revolt, Ernest said that he was a daily viewer of Nick Fuentes. How unfortunate. How's that Italy trip? In 2023, Ernest said he was going to have a magazine story about Nick Fuentes framed. Connor Ernest, 22 of Texas, was arrested yesterday on felonies of sexual assault and continuous violence. Ernest is devoted and close to Nick Fuentes. Is he close? I haven't heard of them being friends, just that he liked listening to Nick. He wrote plans to have a cover story about the Groypers, followers of Fuentes. Get the big guy to sign it, and then I'll frame it. Buying this so I can frame the cover. Mother Jones, hide your sons. What? Current Revolt reached out to Ernest for comment on the allegations, including those specifically about the dog. No response was received from Ernest. A trial by jury date is set for May 18th. Damn. Nick Fuentes warns that a Republican needs to win in 2028 and that partnering with the left is impossible because they want us dead. This fucking candy ass who flip-flops and is obviously some kind of asset is now trying to say the same shit that I've been saying for years. Shut the fuck up, Commie.
It's gonna be so cooked if the Democrats get back in, presumably.
It really will be. That's why I want a
Says the guy
Republican
who's
to win. I don't want it to be Vance or Rubio, but a Republican has to win.
His viewer base to vote Democrat. I saw this fucking cock dude. How anyone takes this thing seriously is I make cartoon Fox and I have more credibility than this gay boy.
Because, you know, what a lot of these Israel-critical, counter-Semitic influencers do not realize is that the left wants to kill us. Like, they literally want us dead.
Then why were you advocating people to vote for them to teach Republicans a lesson, you fucking cuck?
And they will work to effectuate that. They want to silence us. They want us debanked, deplatformed. And ultimately, they would prefer if we all just died. And so you have these types like Dan Bilzerian, who I like and respect, but he says that left and right is an artificial divide. It's a construct to keep Israel critical voices divided, but it's just simply not true. There is a political left. They're unified by ideology.
Can I ask why he's trying to paint this in like any kind of lens towards Israel? Why is the left-right divide in the United States have anything to do with Israel?
And to the extent that they criticize Israel, it is strictly within the boundaries of their left-wing ideology, which they believe in, which they actually believe in. It's not like they got tricked. It is.
He started watching the Foxu streams. He just really enjoys how often I call him gay derogatory instead of gay nice.
That is their ideological conviction. So, you know, the idea that we're going to paper over those differences and we're all going to hold hands and unite one struggle against Israel, it's just not. It's not practical, and I don't think, and at the minimum, it's overstated, the extent that that's possible. So, you know, it's times like this that remind you, if the left had it their way, they would destroy the right wing.
I hate this cat boy. He needs to go back to the ranch. If there's one type of person that you hate the most, it's someone who changes sides faster than the day changes. It's just fucking wild that I saw this and I was like, wait, that's what I've been saying for years. How dare he? Well, we have breaking news. James Comey has been indicted by a grand jury for his 8647 post from last year, just days after yet another assassination attempt on President Trump. Much deserved, this clown was dog whistling for one of his deranged followers to take out President Trump. Lock him up. And I hope every single virtue signaling asshole who dreams of the president being shot and killed and espouses this kind of shit also gets indicted.
Has indicted former FBI Director James Comey for a second time. Justice correspondent David Spunt's got the story. He's here in Washington. Hey, David, they're going to go at it again.
John, they're going at it again, not even a year after they went at it after the first time. We're told this via several law enforcement sources. We're told this is related to an Instagram post from the former FBI director last year when he posted on the beach. You may remember there was a formation of shells that said 8647 that were in that pairing of 8647, and he said something along the lines of, isn't this a curious formation that I just found while walking on the beach? Well, critics to that post immediately pointed out that 86, at least in the restaurant world, means to get rid of or to kill something from a menu, 47 meaning the 47th president of the United States. So Comey did speak with the Secret Service, did speak with federal investigators. At the time he was interviewed last spring or early last summer, shortly after that happened. No charges were ever filed, But now it appears that he has been indicted today. We're working to learn more about the indictment. We're waiting to see if officials have anything to say on this. That is the post that you see right there. Cool shell formation on my beach walk. From
Cool
former,
shell
director
formation, by
James
the way.
Comey. Now, you
What a
also remember
candy
that
ass.
he was indicted last year as well for allegedly lying to Congress.
Put him in the fucking box. I love white pills in the morning. This man is a snake and not a cute one like my cat. So we had one political party in New Hampshire wants a constitutional amendment to forever ban an income tax. The other one wants to implement an income tax this year. Vote Republican. Jason Osborne, if I'm not mistaken, he is like the Speaker of the House in New Hampshire. He's got some House role in New Hampshire that I can't ever get straight. Democrats talk affordability and then vote to keep income tax option open. If you want to know what politicians really believe, don't listen to their speeches, watch how they vote. Very fucking true. That's the lesson New Hampshire residents learned recently when the House Democrats had a chance to permanently protect our state from an income tax. Every single Republican voted yes, 158 Democrats voted no. We're talking about enshrining the New Hampshire advantage, our promise of no income tax, directly into our state constitution. This is about protecting what makes our state unique and keeping more money in the pockets of working families. Democrats say they care about affordability. They talk endlessly about the squeeze on the middle-class families. Yet when given an opportunity to guarantee that Granite Staters will never face a state income tax, they walked away. And I think this is a very good thing for people to internalize. All politicians lie. The Democrats have just been lying far more egregiously than anyone ever expected the last few years. You have to watch the way they vote. Do not just listen to the lies coming out of their mouths, because they're going to say one thing to placate the voter base and then vote along another line. Democrats don't care about the people, yet people keep falling for their BS. It's so tiring. I don't know what makes people keep falling for it. It's astounding to me. Here's what makes this even more frustrating. We tried. We invited Democrats to co-sponsor the New Hampshire Advantage Amendment. They refused. We asked them to help us improve the language, radio silence. They demanded a public hearing, and so we held one and invited their leadership. They ghosted us. At some point, your arms get tired from extending olive branches to people who won't show up. And I think this is very interesting because I've been to like some local stuff already. And what's really interesting is when you go to local things and there's like votes going on, you'll have people who want to participate, and the speaker person will be like, okay, this is what we're voting on. All in favor, like raise your hand or say aye, and all opposed, raise your hand afterwards or say no afterwards, right? Like you do the yeses first and then the no's after. And it seems like the majority of Democrat people who go to local political things are there to simply waste people's time and make things take inordinately longer than they ever fucking should. And it's like, how do you like live with yourself? Like, don't you have things you'd rather be doing than sitting in some fucking local political community center and like spending hours on something that should take like 10 minutes maybe per issue? Like, this is crazy. What is wrong with you? Most people just want to be verbally pandered to. They just want, this person agrees with me. Yeah. It's so obnoxious. It's so obnoxious. And like, I did get the warning. I did get the warning before. I was told, like, when you come out here, if you see any Libertarian Party stuff, know that there are people here who are invested in getting stuff done, but there's a lot of people. It's just like herding cats. Like they just don't know how to exist as a human. They don't have real jobs, and this is their obsession and or religion. It's fucking wild to see. It's wild. And so it's like when you start getting involved, you will know immediately like who the problem people are, and you'll have to start forming ways to like get around the problem people. It's so obnoxious because it's like, instead of any kind of like two parties or like debates or any kind of like, well, this is better because blah blah blah, it's just like you have this child who sat down in front of you and started screaming and crying, and you have to figure out how to get it to shut the fuck up so the adults can get things done. Let's just take something in the back of your brain that's a commie tactic. You think I've talked about it before. Something about subversion and making any organization useless by maximizing bureaucracy. Pretty much. And hey, check out what's happened to our government over time. And how people are like, well, we need foreign labor to do stuff because like there's just too much red tape if we hire Americans. Well, who put that red tape there? Why get rid of the red tape? If that's get rid of it. Like, what are you talking about? In recent op-eds, some Democrats have started saying the quiet part out loud. They don't want to, quote unquote, take the option off the table. Translation, they want to keep an income tax as a possibility. This raises an obvious question. Are Democrats actually serious about making life affordable for New Hampshire families? Even before I finish the article, I'm going to say no. Much like every other state, Democrats are going to be dedicated to assisting fraud, assisting foreigners, and making Americans' lives as worse as humanly possible. The evidence suggests not. In 2026 alone, Democrats voted for $3.9 billion in tax hikes. And now 158 House Democrats have voted against the New Hampshire Advantage Amendment, essentially telling their constituents they might want to reach into their paychecks down the road. The disconnect is stunning. A recent University of New Hampshire poll shows that nearly 2/3 of Granite Staters, 65%, strongly oppose the Democrats' proposal for a 3% income tax paired with a statewide property tax. Even among Democrats, only 37% support it, while 39% oppose their own party's plan. And I remember talking about this proposal previously. If a government entity is proposing, we're going to introduce a 3% statewide income tax, and that will lower your property taxes, they're lying to you. That's not gonna lower your property taxes. Why the fuck would it? And even if they gave you some sort of temporary, like 1 or 2 year, like, here's a $200 reduction on your property taxes, it's gonna go right back up as soon as they think people forget about the vote for the income tax. It's not. It's just like a wedge in to get more of your money from multiple different sources. Yet when Republicans offered a constitutional amendment to ban an income tax forever, a majority of Democrats voted no. Granite Staters overwhelmingly reject an income tax, but Democratic legislators refuse to take it off the table permanently. We're not talking about small potatoes here. A state income tax could cost New Hampshire families roughly $1 billion. That's money that won't go toward groceries, mortgage payments, or college savings. The contrast couldn't be starker. Republicans are fighting to lock in the no income tax promise permanently. Democrats are keeping the door open to the largest tax increase in state history. Some will argue this is about flexibility or all the options on the table for future budgets. But that's exactly the point. The New Hampshire Advantage isn't supposed to be flexible. It's supposed to be permanent. It's a core principle that separates us from Massachusetts, Vermont, and Maine. It's why businesses choose to locate here. It's why families stay here. It's why people move here. Just ask Connecticut. In 1991, our neighbor to the south adopted what they call a modest income tax at 4.5%. Today, the top rate is 6.99%, a 55% increase. What started as a flat tax became a multi-bracket system. That's what always happens. Income taxes don't stay where they start, they grow. Which is also a friendly reminder that the United States did not have an income tax except for during a period in like 1860 something or 1870 something, and then they got rid of it, and then they brought it back in like 1913, and we've had that income tax since 1913. We can get rid of it at the federal level again. It's just that our politicians are disgusting and addicted to our tax dollars. When you refuse to constitutionally protect something, you're signaling you might want to change it later. And I think another good thing to point out would be that Massachusetts and Maine both recently passed a millionaire's tax. And once all of the people who are millionaires in the tax bracket sense leave because they don't want to be anally raped every year, who do you think that millionaire's tax is going to start applying to? It's gonna be trickling down to people who aren't millionaires because they need to make up for all the tax funds that they're losing. On Monday, the Ways and Means Committee will pass the New Hampshire Advantage Amendment. It will be a party line vote, just like it was on the House floor, unless I'm surprised. Here's the thing, sending the income tax question to the ballot would actually be a winning move for Democrats. If they decided to do it, Republican campaign plans across the state would need to be rewritten. A ballot fight over permanently banning an income tax, without the New Hampshire Advantage to worry about anymore, what will Republicans campaign on? So maybe, just maybe, Democrats will surprise us. Maybe they'll realize that fighting to keep an income tax option open is a losing position with the voters, let alone independents. Maybe they'll join us letting Granite Staters decide once and for all. Until then, voters across the New Hampshire will have to reckon with a simple truth. Their elected representatives had a chance to permanently protect them from an income tax, and Democrats said no. This isn't about partisan politics, this is about a fundamental question. Do we trust New Hampshire families to spend their own money, or do we trust politicians to spend it for them? Republicans answered that question, and Democrats did too, just not the way most Granite Staters would hope. The next time you hear a Democrat talk about making life more affordable, remember this vote. Remember who showed up to defend your paycheck and who didn't. Because in politics, actions speak louder than words. Oh, he's the House Majority Leader. My bad. I said he was the Speaker. He's the House Majority Leader. I never remember fucking positions, man. It's so hard. Juxtapose the last two tweets from our female governor, Kelly Ayote. On the left, we have all Americans volunteering to send care packages to our military abroad. On the right, we have all non-Americans opening a quality home care center. On the left, a society that cares for their nation. On the right, foreigners and probably scammers looking to get in on the fraud. And he's quote retweeting Kelly Ayote. I guess, you know, being a woman crosses party lines, unfortunately. Congrats to the New Hampshire Home Care on their grand opening. Quality in-home care helps Granite Staters stay healthy and independent. Proud to support their work for families across our state. And I think my biggest question is, how did Kelly Ayote get every single brown person who lives in New Hampshire in one spot at one time? Like, this is literally every non-white individual in the entire state. Like, how did she do this? That's kind of impressive. It's easy. Promise free food and money. I was just like, what are we doing here? She's even wearing like a weird little scarf thing. Like, what are you doing? What is this? The Quality Leering Center of New Hampshire is finally open. Look at all their smiles, man. They're just like, this dumb bitch, she has no idea how much we're gonna scam from the people in this state. Okay, now check for citizenship. And the juxtaposition this guy was talking about. You have the group of people who were sending care packages to the troops abroad. Then you have the Quality Home Care Center being set up. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I had another tweet on this as well. Anyone who enables fraud, enables illegal immigrants, and puts foreign nations before citizens is a traitor to the country, period. Hard agree. Libertarian Party New Hampshire said, congrats to the New Hampshire branch of the Quality Leering Center for getting on the government teat. And I was just like, how does she see this as a legislator, know everything going on with foreigners and healthcare fraud in Maine, Minneapolis, California, etc., and not only not question this, but post happily about it? I was like, what the fuck are you doing? This is why women cannot be trusted in politics, man. This is why every time someone tells me I should run for an office seat, I'm like, no way, dude. No, all it's gonna take is one woman moment and I'll be fucked forever, okay? I ain't gonna take that chance. I was like, I don't know, maybe she saw the, like, 0 repercussions for fraud thus far for people in Maine and Minnesota and California, and she was like, let me get in on that. Let me increase my net worth by millions of dollars. I don't know, but that's kind of fucked up. She wants a cut. Haven't they suffraged enough already? I like that slogan. And then, we had a hearing here because, once again, Democrats just love wasting everyone's time. Travis Corcoran, I can't pronounce things. He is a House rep in New Hampshire, and he made a joke about how we need to find, like, the final solution for theater kids or some shit. Very obviously a joke. And then all of the Democrats took off their panties and wrung out their piss because they were just so upset about this joke that they also had to have, like, some sort of fucking weird-ass meeting to see if they should sanction him, I guess. I don't know. But says, Travis dutifully shows up to defend free speech against cancel culture and political theater. John Adams, when discussing Alexander Hamilton, stated, I lose all patience when I think of a bastard brat of Scotch peddler on Thomas Paine, Adams said, for such a mongrel between pig and puppy, begotten by a wild boar on a bitch wolf. Never before in any age of the world was suffered by the poltroonery of mankind to run through such a career of mischief. And I was like, that's crazy that the founding fathers were talking about poltroonery. What the fuck? Jefferson described Adams as a hideous hermaphroditical character, which has neither the force and firmness of a man, nor the gentleness and sensibility of a woman. Was that decorous? Probably not, but our founders had a much firmer dedication to free speech than the modern left, who despises both of them and free speech. They set the precedent when founding the greatest nation the world has ever known that politics isn't all pomp and ceremony and kind words, nor should it be. Do we really want people who are this sensitive and easily hurt involved in politics? And let me play this video.
Members of the committee, I'm here today because of a joke about theater kids in politics has itself produced a full-blown piece of political theater. The comment was made in response to a karaoke invitation. It was a sarcastic jab at performative politics, the sort of dramatic attention-seeking politics that values spectacle over substance. That point has now been proven more thoroughly than I ever could have managed on my own. My comment was about a style of politics. It was not about Representative Grill's religion. I did not know Representative Grill was Jewish when I made the comment. There are nearly—
That's insane! You don't even know someone's religion and they can just come out with, I'm a Jew. It's time to get you removed from your house seat. That is insane. Holy shit.
Nearly 400 members of this House. I do not keep track of my colleagues' religious backgrounds. The claim that this was targeted to her because of her background is false. Had I known, I would have chosen other words. The joke still would have been a joke, and it still probably would have offended some people. But it would not have been phrased in a way that invited this particular bad faith reading. And that is what this hearing is really about. Not harm, not threats, not
and I have to do this all the time. And I hate that we have to do this, right? Note that he didn't say he would reword the joke because it was too offensive, but he would reword the joke because simply her being able to have this bad faith reading causes all of this fucking nonsense to happen. And that's what I have to do when I word shit as well, because there's always going to be someone waiting for me to say something they can take in like the absolute worst bad faith representation as humanly possible. And it's so fucking tiring. Like it makes you not even want to say shit sometimes, because it's like, I don't want to have to deal with all these spineless cucks just coming after me for absolutely no fucking reason.
Discrimination, but the deliberate decision to take political joke, assign it the most sinister interpretation possible, and then stage a formal proceeding around that interpretation. In other words, this hearing is not a response to performative politics. It is performative politics.
Yep.
A joke is now being treated as though it were an act of malice, and sarcasm is being recast as hate speech. This is absurd. If this
She cast her Jew card face down in the trap position.
body wants to set the precedent that members can be hauled before a committee whenever someone decides to be offended by a joke made outside of the chamber, then what is being protected here is not decorum, it is political theater as a disciplinary weapon. That was my point then, and that is my point now. This proceeding proves it. I will not be taking any questions. Thank you for your time.
And this is part of what everyone's been dealing with for ages, right? You make a joke and suddenly you're persona non grata. You have to defend yourself along their interpretation of it. But they're allowed to openly call for death and, oh, I thought you guys liked edgy jokes. And it's like, that's not, you guys don't use words to communicate. You are casting spells in order to trap us in some kind of a fucking weird principled box where you can never do any wrong while you continuously beat us to a pulp until we die. It's very, very, very obnoxious and kind of tiring. Kind of tiring. And I quote retweeted something else about this as well. Chief political correspondent, Courier Newsroom, and Granite Post follow for breaking New Hampshire politics news and emails. What a fucking candy ass. What a candy ass. He said, Rep. Cochran also appeared to mock the Legislative Administration Committee and the hearing itself with the words Kangoroo Court attached to his written remarks. And he got a zoomed in picture of like what Travis was reading from, where it says at the top, Kangoroo Court. What a fucking cuck, bro. Like, Travis is absolutely correct that the entire court was a kangaroo court, and it was performative politics. He shouldn't have had to say fucking anything. I dare to mock the kangaroo court. Literally crazy. And then Travis said, the next time I testify before a committee, I'm going to type Colin Booth as a bootlicking regime media in H1 bold at the top of my notes. I find you in kangaroo contempt. Imagine. Kangaroo court in the banana republic. It's like, this whole thing is so fucking silly. And like, I'm calling it silly, but because of the people pushing this kind of silly shit, it has real stark repercussions on people. And it needs to stop. Where it says, there's a lot of talk about Libertarian Party National disaffiliating from Libertarian Party New Hampshire at the upcoming National Libertarian Party Convention. This would be a foolish move. It would amount to nothing but a virtue signal. The same people will show up for the organizing of the new affiliate and win again, just as they have for several cycles now. There are many tribes in the Liberty Movement of New Hampshire. If you don't want this particular one running the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, then you should move to New Hampshire, organize your Liberty tribe, and take it from them the next state convention. Well, I hope not. I don't want to encourage anyone who would want to enslave me to move to a New England state. And if you're not willing to do that and you still don't like what they say, then ignore them and build something of your own where you are to express liberty in the world how you want it. Disaffiliation is a waste of time and a waste of energy. Do something productive and meaningful. You only have one life to advance liberty. And I agree with him here. The disaffiliation thing is basically just like a virtue signal to make them, again, a persona non grata type people. And it's very grotesque that that is the left's tactic every single time. Someone who's a cuck named David T. Beto, history professor with books on the rise and fall of mutual aid. I don't know who that is. No, get them the hell out of the official Libertarian Party if the bigoted and intentionally annoying LPNH wants to start its own separate edgelord white nationalist party and even pretend that it favors liberty. It should be free to do so. And the Libertarian Party responded, it's interesting that when we say we want a libertarian nation, you hear we want a white nation. Keep working through it, you'll get there. And the cuck responded, an honest racist would proudly admit it instead of playing silly games. I would like to remind people that the current leader of the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire is Jewish. Jeremy Kaufman is Jewish. I don't know how you could say that the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire wants a white nationalist state when Jeremy would de facto not be allowed in there. Like, what are we doing? Only white people can be free, apparently. What did he mean by this? And then that brings us to them posting Jeremy Kaufman saying what he cares about who people who think he's a racist.
There's a very clear standard for racism, which is, would you reach conclusions about people on the basis of their superficial characteristics? And the answer for me is never. I've never come close to doing that. Other people have lots of different definitions for racism. Under some of those definitions, I might be a racist, and I just don't care.
And I would like all politicians to adopt that mindset. Because as soon as people in power adopt the, no, we're not going to play games about the definitions of a word. This is what racism is. I am not a racist, and you're not going to fit me into your weird definition, redefining of racism, in order to try and disavow me along a line of things I don't think. I think that absolutely needs to start happening because we have too long been playing the word games with communists. And you cannot win a word game battle with communists. That is what they excel in. That is the entire point of subversion. Kaufman, Jewish, nah. I was actually talking to Nux about Jeremy Kaufman, and I spelled it with 2 N's instead of 2 F's. And he was like, oh, I was going to get excited about the Jews being so bad, but then you spelled it the German way. And I was like, oh, no, I just spelled it wrong. It's 2 F's, not 2 N's. I had no idea that Kaufman with 1 F, 2 N's is Germanic, and Kaufman with 2 F's, 1 N is Jewish. Literally blew my fucking mind. I was like, what the hell? That's crazy. You didn't know that either? I was like, I literally would not have gotten that any other way. Final New Hampshire tab. Kittery Trading Post made a threat that if the legislature passed this law, they would move their gun business to New Hampshire. Maine passed the law, and Kittery Trading Post did jack shit. We should not support companies with no backbone. Hard agree. Hard agree. If the company, especially if they're selling a product that, like, is gonna get fucked by the law, why would they stay there? Especially ones with clout, he said. Kittery Trading Post threatens to move firearm sales to New Hampshire over new gun law. The outdoor sports retailer said the law will have irreversible consequences for its business, which heavily relies on tourism. And down here you see the new law taking effect. Firearm order pickup requirements. Maine state law requires a 72-hour mandatory waiting period from the time of purchase agreement and confirmation on all firearm orders requesting in-store pickup at our retail store in Kittery, Maine. Once this requirement is met, you may proceed to the shooting sports department at your earliest convenience. The mandatory waiting period does not apply to handguns purchased by New Hampshire residents. How it works: order online, browse and select your firearm from our collection of new and used models. Wait 72 hours. The waiting period begins as soon as your order is placed and confirmed. Complete the purchase. After the waiting period, visit the store to complete the required in-person government background check. Now, why is there a waiting period? What the fuck is the point of the waiting period if you're still doing the background check? Like, what? The 72-hour waiting period for firearm purchases in Maine begins when the buyer and seller, Firearms Federal License, the FFLs, enter into an agreement for the purchase and sale of a specifically identified firearm. This law was allowed to take effect on April 24th, 2026, following an appeals court ruling. Now why? Why? This law, part of LD 2224, enacted after the 2023 Lewiston shooting, is designed as a cooling off period. That doesn't even make sense. The Kittery Trading Post is where many of you got your guns from, and they'd send them to a pickup in New Hampshire in Portsmouth. You can also assume it may not be that easy for them to move the business across the border with how Maine is. I have absolutely no idea how difficult it would be to move a business across state lines. With a physical store, I can see that being much harder than if you're just an online place, and obviously they have a physical store. Texas has a 2-week hold for people under 21 when buying rifles, even though you still have to pass the background check. So let me get this straight, right? You can join the military at 18 and be given a firearm to kill other people in other countries, but in order to have a firearm for self-defense or for sport, you have to wait until a 2-week hold is over? That's crazy. That's kind of weird. It makes no sense. I hate bureaucracy. Cooling off period. Do they think people only buy guns out of rage and an intent to shoot someone? I'm sure the people who put forth the legislature to do this cooling off period believe that, because they believe that the only reason they would buy a gun is in a fit of rage to do harm. You study hard and manage to get into Oxford, one of the most famous universities in the world. You arrive on campus, rush to your first lecture, and in walks Matt Ratley, your tutor. At least his name fits his visage.
Yes, I'm in the process of putting a website together, and that is proving to be much harder than it probably should be. And the problem I'm running up against...
I just want to say, if your beard looks like this, it looks like a combination of expired ramen and pubic hair. Please shave it for the sake of everyone around you.
There's some imposter syndrome, classic. Basically, what does it mean to be an expert in something? Because it's really not obvious to me at what point I could describe myself as an expert in something. I have expertise in things.
An expert in horrifying people, maybe?
My chemistry's pretty solid, but I think I still have this feeling that declaring myself an expert in something is a little bit uncomfortable, and I don't quite know on
every
what
day
basis
we come
I would
closer to
feel
why
comfortable doing
more.
that. And lots of people, seem to be quite happy with this. They'll sort of declare themselves experts in all sorts of things. Although I would also say that I think we've all come across people who declare themselves experts in things, but when you actually talk to them or you see what they're saying, the reality is not necessarily that. And there are some people who would not say they're experts in things and who actually turn out to be absolutely experts in all sorts of things. So I guess the question I have is, if you're someone who has overcome that or who has reached a point where you feel like you're an expert in something. What is the kind of special sauce you found that got you over the line? Is it, I don't know, just time, experience, specific work you've done? Maybe it's just a mindset shift of some description. What was it that sort of made you feel
I don't even know what he's
enabled to
talking
describe
about
yourself
anymore.
as
He's
an
just
expert in
fucking
something?
rambling.
And if you're not, so you feel very much like me and thinking, not quite sure if I can call myself that yet. What do you think it would take for you to get over the line, to sort of get to that point where you would feel comfortable describing yourself as an expert?
I don't understand. I don't understand how he recognizes that his hairline is so bad that he's cut the rest of his hair short to be almost bald, but he doesn't recognize that his beard is so atrocious it should also be cut off. Is like part of the entire humiliation thing here, the fact that you get to humiliate everyone around you by having them forced into having to call you a woman at this point?
And things. Just interested to hear what people think, because I'm kind of wrangling with this, and I keep going back and forth trying to sort of either stick my neck out and say I'm definitely an expert in XYZ, and then sort of dialing it back, and it feels like neither of those approaches are really very sensible. So yeah, just be interested to hear what people think. Hope everyone's having a great 2026. Cheers.
I hate that this is an individual that exists. People used to have to buy circus admission tickets 100 years ago. I know. You could one-shot a frail Victorian child with this. Can we rage out now? RTX on Don't say this is Bagman. This is what we saved Bagman from. He almost became a victim of the pipeline.